Hello everybody, Raven Knight here. So, you all know what we're about to talk about, right? We're all about to talk about this new hero coming up. Let's face it, guys, it's July, and everything we've been waiting for since the start of the year is on the way. We've got 3 new Hero Fests coming out, which I'm very excited about. We got a Warriors Den on the 23rd, and then right after that, the new hero drops. The second half of the season goes into effect. And I know a lot of you guys are really excited about that. How do I know you're excited about it? Because you guys have told me how excited you are about it. And that's not a criticism. I'm very pleased to see so many people excited for this game and for what updates come to it. I've been getting DMs, I've been getting chat messages, I've been getting comments, I've been getting all kinds of stuff from you guys asking me things like, hey Raven, are you excited for the new hero? Hey Raven, what do you think the new hero is going to be? Hey Raven, are you excited for what's coming? Hey Raven, what do you think about this and this and that and the third? And I'm very pleased to get all these messages from people asking me. But for the first time in a very, very long time, I have to say that my enthusiasm is not as high as it used to be. Not because of For Honor itself, but because it brings me to a point of sadness. And let me explain what I mean. Today, what I want to do is I want to basically break down what my expectations are for the hero, what I think it's going to be about, what I think is going to be good, and what I'm not as excited about. Please bear with me. Let's get into it. Okay, so first of all, what is the new hero going to be? Without any certainty. We haven't seen a trailer, we haven't seen anything definitive yet. Without any kind of evidence or certainty, here's my guess. We're looking at some kind of European rapier hero. Now, we have a couple of clues in the season that have led to this. The big one being that, as you know, every season, they give a special little effect reward for participating in the ranked duels. And the effect reward now has a rapier on it. Or at least a spadroon. It's hard to tell, but I think it's a rapier. And so that leads many to believe, it's got to be a rapier hero, and I would say that's a pretty safe guess. The second piece of evidence we have is that at the very start of the year, when they were hinting at all the seasons coming out, Daubeny said that this season, the second season, would focus highly on duels, and this character would be very about duels. And let's face it, the rapier is a weapon intended for duels. So this could be a character a lot like Nusha, who is released primarily to be a 1v1 hero, but will have to be adjusted for a 4v4 situation, if that makes sense. So that is another piece of evidence. The third piece of evidence lies in the theme of the season itself. This season focuses heavily on pirates and piracy. And not just any pirates, not like the Chinese or Cantonese pirates like we saw initially with the original pirate hero, but instead with Caribbean European style pirates. And as a result of that, I think it is safe to assume that a rapier could be involved, because at the time of piracy, it wasn't just the cutlass, but also spadroons and rapiers that were all the rage. You saw a lot of these. They were basically officer swords or officer sabers. So we could be looking at some kind of officer or a musketeer or some kind of noble warrior, something along those lines. So those all lead me to believe that this is going to be a dual-centric rapier-using hero. That is the guess. Now, whether it's going to be gender locked male or female, many of us have assumed that it's going to be female based on some of the lore orders that have dropped. Now, let me say this about all that. Every hero in For Honor, as you know, I made a tier list about each hero, about which ones I like and don't like. Even the heroes that I don't like, I have found something to like. Okay, I have found something that I can appreciate, I can say one good thing and one bad thing about each hero in For Honor. So with this hero, it's going to be no exception. I will find something good and bad about this hero. I will sing the hero's praises if they're good. I will criticize them if they're bad. That is what I do. But I will say this. Many of you who have watched my channel for a long time know my stance on this, but I am not overly fond of the idea of a rapier hero. It's not something that I'm super excited about. Now, granted, I like the idea of a rapier hero way more than a bare-handed hero, and I've talked about my reasons for that. But I'm not as excited about a rapier hero. I have 2 reasons for it, okay? So bear with me. The first issue that I have with the rapier is simply that the rapier was not a weapon really designed for warfare. You can look at historical accounts and you'll see that while some officers or generals or commanders may have carried a rapier or similar kind of officer's sword, that's actually where we get the term officer sword or officer saber, those weren't usually the men who went into battle themselves. They usually let other people go into battle. They did not. So the more eloquent style of weapon, the rapier, would not actually see a lot of military combat. What the rapier really was, it wasn't so much a medieval fighting weapon as it was a self-defense weapon for the streets. You see, as the idea of battle and combat evolved, and as the necessity of bigger, heavier weapons and bigger, heavier armor started to dissipate into the Renaissance period, you had the evolution of different kinds of ways of fighting and protecting yourself. The common man needed a weapon that was easy to carry, was not as cumbersome, was quick to draw out and quick to use, and had enough reach to keep enemies at a distance so that you could fight in a street or urban environment. And that's how the rapier kind of came to be. It's not that it outdid or outperformed the bigger and heavier weapons and armor of the day. Rapiers were not designed to fight armor of the medieval period. They were not meant to do that, which I'll go into in my second issue with the rapier. But because of that, because of the method by which they were made, and because of their purpose and use, the fact that they're existing in a medieval fighting game, to me, is silly. That's one of the big reasons I have against it. A rapier would not be a weapon you'd want to take into medieval combat. Now, again, I know that there are going to be people out there who say, oh, but Shaolin, he blocks with his forearms. Pirate has a gun that constantly reloads and doesn't need to be reloaded. There's a lot of things that aren't realistic or historical. But you got to understand, guys, while I understand that, I'm a historian. I'm a studier of ancient military history. I have studied and trained in martial arts and HEMA. I enjoy these things. These are things that matter to me. So even though, yes, I recognize that For Honor is a historical game, and I know that they're going to be able to make it work by game logic, from my perspective, it's just annoying. I never said that I liked the way Shaolin blocked. I never said that I liked the way Pirate's gun worked. Those are issues to me too. I'm just stating my issues with the rapier up front so you guys understand them. So please don't go to the comments and say, oh, history and realism doesn't matter, because I know, I get that, I understand. I'm just stating my first issue with it. My first issue is simply that the rapier is not a military battlefield kind of weapon. It was more of a self-defense dueling weapon. It was more meant for two soldiers or two officers or two noblemen or just two peasants to whip out these rapiers and duel each other in the streets or in a back alley or in a professional capacity. They were not things that soldiers took out onto the battlefield with them. The second problem with the rapier is it's not going to hold up against the medieval weapons that For Honor has to offer. Here's the reality. Now, I've had this debate with a lot of people when it comes to the reliability of the rapier in terms of it breaking. Let me be real for just a second. I recognize that a rapier isn't a fragile piece of tin, okay? It's not going to snap under the force of a strong wind. I understand that. However, we have historical documentation of rapiers snapping under pressure. Rapiers can be snapped. In fact, Otto von Bismarck famously has this cut on his neck, which happened during a duel, and he claimed had his rapier not broken, it would never have happened. Rapiers can snap. Now, the thicker bottom part of the rapier is where you'd want to parry, but generally, you don't want to parry with a rapier anyway. Many people look at rapiers because they watch The Three Musketeers or they watch The Mask of Zorro, and they see these really fancy duels with the spadroon and the rapier, and they clash over and over again. That isn't typically what you'd want to do in a rapier battle. Watch a fencing match sometime and you'll see it's way different. Battles with a rapier are all about thrusting, evasion. If you do block, you have to deflect it quickly. This isn't one of those things where it's, clash, 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 slice, slice. It doesn't work that way. In fact, you want to generally avoid slashing with the rapier. The rapier is primarily a thrusting tool. It is primarily a thrusting, stabbing tool, which is good. I have nothing against a thrusting, stabbing tool. That's totally fine. But at the end of the day, the rapier is not designed to repeatedly take punishment. And even though there is a portion of the blade that can take more punishment, definitely, that doesn't mean it's going to last long in that circumstance. Again, like I said before, this is a weapon generally designed to fight other rapiers. A weapon designed for quick self-defense in a street environment or in an urban environment or in a duel or any of those situations. It is not designed to go up against a huge broadsword. It is not designed to go up against a Dane axe. It's not designed to punch through steel armor. That's the issue I take with it. That's the issue I take with the rapier. A really neat weapon, a beautiful weapon, I would say, a cool weapon, I would say, something that I'd love to see used in other kinds of games and formats. But in the world of For Honor, where all the characters have been using these big, powerful, strong weapons with big, strong, durable armor, now we have the rapier, a weapon that was created well past that point in time. The rapier is a weapon designed for a time period where a lot of the stuff we see in For Honor either was obsolete or didn't exist at that point. It does not mean that the rapier is superior to their armor and weapons. It means it existed in a time where that stuff was not as relevant or common. Does that make sense? I want you guys to understand that. Now, again, I want to re-stress this because someone's going to misunderstand me. I'm not saying the rapier is an easy to break sword, but against these kind of weapons that it would be going up against, yes, it could be broken. Far more easily than you'd expect. Especially against something like a longsword, or a halberd, or a kanabo. A lot of these weapons are going to be way too strong. And then, of course, comes the response. Well, then the way that he uses the rapier could be different. What if they use the rapier to deflect instead of parry? Great idea, except parrying is a fundamental mechanic to the game. You know? Are you just going to get rid of parrying with this hero? I don't think that's a good idea, especially when a lot of characters have unblockables that you can't deflect. You're going to have to learn to parry, and it's just going to look weird. And again, here it comes. For Honor is not a realistic or historical game. I know that. I'm not saying it is or that it should be. All I'm saying is these were the reasons I wasn't excited about a rapier hero. But it is what the community wanted, and it's what the community's been asking for. So obviously, For Honor wants to please the community, so they're giving the community what it wants. Will I enjoy the hero? Almost certainly. I can't wait to pick up the hero and give it a shot. I can't wait to try them out, see how they feel. I can't wait to play them and play against them and play with other people who try them out. I am excited for the hero. But as my friend Aaron pointed out during my stream the other night, he said it's got to be hard for Raven, who for years has said he doesn't want this hero and now is seeing that coming with every passing day. Am I upset about it? No. Am I angry about it? No. Am I sad about it? No. Am I saying they shouldn't do it? Not even that. I'm just saying this was not something I was super hyped about just for that reason. Okay? That's where I stand on the matter. It wasn't something I was super hyped about. But is it going to be cool? Yes, I'm sure it will be. Every new hero that is released has been cool to some degree, with the exception of maybe Varangian Guard. Maybe you weren't the cool one. But it is going to be an interesting take, and we can look forward to that hero being revealed to us on the 23rd, and then given to us on the 24th. And I am very, very excited. Now, the next question that some people are going to ask is, if the hero is female gender locked, would that have historical relevance? Believe it or not, it's not as hard to believe as you'd think. While you didn't typically see women swordsmen out there, it wasn't that women couldn't carry a rapier, and there are documented cases historically of women who used rapiers or dueled with rapiers. It just wasn't typical. It wasn't a commonplace thing. But then again, For Honor's kind of thrown commonplace and typical out the window quite a lot with some of that stuff, isn't it? So it's not a big deal to me. So I'm very curious how they're going to approach this. They could approach this by making the character a musketeer, or some kind of chevalier, or, you know, something Renaissance-like. But according to one lore order, this hero could apparently be a former pirate. So are we getting a new pirate hero, like a swashbuckler or something? It'd be kind of interesting. I'm curious to see how they do that. My current working theory as to how they're going to make this work. I said this in a stream the other day, but here's my current working theory. I think the new hero is some kind of bounty hunter. Now, they could have been a former member of Coldheart's crew, and they come back as a bounty hunter here to arrest Coldheart and to catch them or to bring them to justice. Heck, it could be that Chinese pirate who Coldheart killed in the sands. You know, she might have actually lived, and she came back as this bounty hunter. Who knows? I'm not entirely sure, but that's my early assumption. I think that it is a bounty hunter come to capture Coldheart and bring him to justice, and that could be a really cool way to approach this. Now, are they going to lean more on the French musketeer style? Are they going to lean more on the Spanish style? Because the rapier was developed in Spain and Italy initially, and then started moving about all of Europe shortly after that. So it could be very well that that's what they do, but we never can know. What I wanted to do with this video is basically lay out, here are my thoughts on the new hero and what we're going to get. Here's why I've been kind of iffy about them, but I do want to state for the record, I'm very excited. I think it will be cool, and I look forward to hearing what they have to say when the hero is revealed to us on the 23rd. So, what do you guys think? Do you guys understand what I'm saying now when I say all this stuff? Do you guys agree or disagree? Let me know down in the comments down below, but please be respectful. Thank you guys so much for watching. This was a quick video, but I wanted to get it out there. As always, I will see you in my next video. Take care.